Test, test, test. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Outline for today is in the Zoom chat.
Hey, what's up? Oh,
Hi,
hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks, Nathan. What's Montana like today? Where you are?
It was snowing. We got like roughly an inch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have snowed at some point soon.
Yeah, unfortunately it was 43 degrees in the afternoon, so it's just turned into a slush, but
I don't love it,
yeah.
but what are we gonna do?
Does anybody here ski or snowboard?
No, I haven't been able to ski in a long time.
There's no good places out in New York?
Oh, well, I live right next to Green Lake State Park, which is perfect for that kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's plenty of great spots and really some good ski slopes too.
Mm.
I'm a cross country girl.
oh yeah, that's the way to do it.
Mhm.
Talk about a surprising workout.
I know. Snowshoeing too.
I've never been snowshoeing. I've heard good things about it though.
Yeah, let's just say my legs felt like they were 30 pounds heavier when I was done. It was a total. Good job. Very good. Who else is here? Everybody. My memory of Montana.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's
Going
good.
well. How are you?
How are you doing?
So far it's been okay. Work has been work. So other than that, great.
Excellent. I was excited to come to class. I remembered when I was on my way home, I get to go to class. I'm such a dork.
Honestly, the class seems like class seems like getaway. Focus really on myself.
Excellent. Excellent. You look good in green.
Thanks.
Hmm.
Thanks. Okay.
All right. Yep. Let's go ahead and kick things off. So when we ended yesterday, we were getting right to the point of making our first deploy. Before we get into class, though, I'm gonna take a second and ask how people felt about yesterday, thoughts, questions, ideas.
Well, all the giant servers with hundreds of thousands of things going at once scared the heck out of me, but this, I feel like it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We're definitely not gonna jump into the deep end. We'll slowly walk out there.
Seeing the usefulness of the GitHub, I was just in a meeting with Jason and he was able to get into my GitHub and see my portfolio and my capstone information.
I'm telling you, if you get into GitHub, if you get into Git, it just works really well. You can easily share it with other people. That's great to hear. That's awesome. Anybody else have thoughts, opinions?
I like the extra
Comments?
security with Git again in terms of retrieving your code if you accidentally delete it. Just that extra security, is helpful, especially if I
Yeah.
got a bunch of code going on.
Great. Yeah. Definitely commit and push often. And then hopefully you won't need it, but my slides are always here and I have those instructions. Plus you also have the video from yesterday, and plus you can also message me anytime and I'll be happy to help. But yeah, that's the point. Or one of the points of GitHub is having backups of your code. Okay. So today we just to quickly check in on where we're at for the week. Let me pull up the outline. So for today, we are actually running a little bit ahead of schedule. I was planning on talking about what we talked about at the end of class yesterday, kind of the cloud and some of the comparisons. We are ahead of schedule on that. So we're going to jump in today and go right into deploying to GitHub pages, doing a little bit of troubleshooting there, talking about different things with our deploys. And then we're going to jump into domain names and DNS. And also, if anybody's interested, we could talk a little bit about email forwarding or setting up email addresses on a domain. But we started this week off saying that our goal for the whole week was to have a website deployed. So that really is our takeaway today. Everybody should have a website, and I'm hoping that we could fill in this column here on the spreadsheet today with links to our website. So that's the idea for today. If we get done with this early, I have some terminal useful commands, terminal practice for us. I don't know how far Max has gone with all of you in terms of how to use the terminal. Does anybody, let me open up my terminal quickly. Is anybody familiar with the CD command? Is anybody familiar with the ls command?
No, I've never done anything with the terminal.
Nate, can you see? Because it looks
Brian,
like
I see
one-
Brian's got his hand up.
yeah.
Brian, I'm assuming that's not from the cohort though. Is that previous experience?
Yeah, that'd be from previous experience, but I don't think it's I'm sorry. I don't think it's a very difficult concept. I think it's pretty easy to pick up.
Cool. Well, I would be remiss if during the DevOps / sysadmin week, I would be remiss if I didn't didn't talk about the terminal. So we will cover a bit of that today after we get through with the items that we have on the outline. And then whatever we don't get to today, which I don't think we'll have any problem covering all this, but whatever we don't get to today, we will work on tomorrow. And then tomorrow is kind of going to be a big working group. So I don't know how far people have gotten on their capstones, but tomorrow we should have at least our portfolios deployed. And then in class, if there's anybody still trying to get their portfolio deployed, we can work on that together in class tomorrow. But I will also be available for helping people get their capstones started, and especially getting their capstones onto GitHub. That would be one of the coolest things that I would love to see this class do between now and when I see all of you in a couple months. It would be so cool if I could convince all of you to do your capstone development on GitHub, just because it's going to make at each of those check-ins, it's going to make it so much easier to be able to share your progress with others, and especially to ask for help if you are interested in doing that on GitHub. Exona, I think you had your hand raised.
Yeah, so my question is, once our portfolios are they're on go live, is that what you said?
Once they're deployed?
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
I'm getting both work and this confused, but so yes, once they are deployed, are we able to change our code for our portfolio, or is it gonna, once we deploy it, that's it?
Oh no,
And we-
you could change it at any time.
Okay,
In fact,
cool.
spoiler alert, you've changed it multiple times already. And
Probably.
another major spoiler, you've already been deploying. You just didn't know it. Okay. Other questions? Other thoughts? So all that to say, today we're going to try to get through as much of the material as we have left. And then tomorrow is going to kind of be a relaxed working group day. So come prepared with questions and any capstone code or HTML and CSS that you have for your capstone started tomorrow. Does that sound good? We can also either today, if we have time, or tomorrow, we can also dabble a little bit in running, doing our own deploys on a real server. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's go ahead and jump in today. Before we jump into the deploys though, I'm going to run everybody through a quick exercise just to make sure that we still have our muscle memory. I would like everybody to go and update their index.html with the letter, or sorry, with the word snow. So please push a commit to your portfolio. Please change your index.html, and somewhere in your index.html, put the word snow. And then once you made that commit, please push it up. Oh, Alva, I think you got first place. I'm pretty sure you got first place. Congratulations. Solid Serpent and Schneider coming in second.
I'm sorry, I think that was something that you covered yesterday when I was in the breakout room.
Oh, yes. The exercise we're going through right now is going into GitHub Desktop, and then you have your portfolio in GitHub Desktop. Jordan, I think you muted.
I am muted, my bad. All right, so yeah, I'm in the desktop.
Okay, and then open up VS Code. You could do that by clicking the button or up here in the repository tab, clicking on open in VS Code.
Okay,
And then you have an index.html in your portfolio, right?
yeah,
So just anywhere in your index.html, put the word snow, save, commit, and push that up. Does that make sense?
I just have to see. What did you say? Put snow, just the word snow, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, so here on my body, I'm going to do, I'll just make it a paragraph tag. And
Okay.
I'll put in snow, save, come back over here, make a commit, adding the word snow to my portfolio. Commit,
Word.
push. Got it?
Yeah, but where do I go to like submit and push it, you said?
So after you make the change in VS Code, flip back over to VS Code, or sorry, flip back to GitHub Desktop, and it should show you the change that you made. Do you see that?
I don't see it on there.
If you don't, it might be because you didn't save. Do you mind sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So that you are looking at the history tab, which is good. Yeah,
Changes are
click
right
over there.
That's why.
Nice. Yep. So make a commit down here. So type in a little message.
Or
So
summary.
yeah, it's at right. It's talking about the upper box. The bottom box is optional. Select one or more files to commit. Oh, sorry. It looks like we've lost the check mark there. Cool. Yep. Push. Nice. Now your code change is pushed up to GitHub. Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Nice, I did do it right. Nathan, can you go over real quickly uploading files to your GitHub?
Yeah, absolutely. And is anybody else, before I jump into that, Kalai, are you?
Yeah, I have a question. So
Yeah.
I think I'm seeing only the Max code from yesterday, but I'm not seeing my own code in Visual VS Code.
Yeah, do you mind sharing your screen?
Yeah.
So this is just for everybody, everybody following along. Feel free to throw away your VS Code from time to time. Feel free to close out of VS Code just to get a blank slate, because the workflow that we've been talking about this week is when we go to write our code, we start at GitHub Desktop, we pick the repo that we want to work on, and then from GitHub Desktop, we open VS Code instead of opening VS Code and trying to navigate directly to the files. So let's do the same thing here, Kalai, and let's close out of VS Code. Okay, and then here in GitHub Desktop, oh yeah, great, yeah, fully close out of it, cool. And then here in GitHub Desktop, notice how it says example portfolio up in the top left. So this is the repo picker.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so let's talk about uploading files to GitHub. Looks like most people have or are in the process of pushing up snow. So let's say that I have well, let me go to my desktop. Touch my profile pic.png. So let's say I have a file called my profile pic.png, and I want to add it to my portfolio. So how would I get that? How would I get that into my code? How would I get that into the folder where my code lives?
Drag it in.
I could drag it in. So
Finder.
wherever, yeah, with Finder. So I could here, the name of the file is called my profile pic. I'm in my desktop. So if I open up Finder, I can go to my desktop. Here's my profile pic.png. Cool. I'm going to add that. So now I go over here to GitHub desktop where I want, where my code lives, and I'll make sure that my portfolio is selected. Click show in Finder. It will open up another window. This should look familiar to people. I've got my index.html, all this other stuff here. So I can go ahead and drag that over. GitHub desktop noticed I'm dragging some PNG over. So at this point, I'm now at a point where I can open VS Code. Here's my file, my profile pic, and I can do something like image source equals my profile. Right. Does image have a closing brace?
It's self-closing, so you need to slash.
Yeah, self-closing. Yep.
Self-closing. Thank you. I learned something today. Okay. Oh, GitHub desktop notice that I've added the image link. Cool. Does that answer the question? How to add files? I can add more files if.
Where do you drag it over to again? One more time.
Yeah. So I'll close out of these windows. So let's say that I have some stuff on my desktop that I want to move over. I can grab. I will leave over here the Finder window for the stuff that I want, and then to get it into my code, I'm going to open GitHub desktop, and I'll click up here on repository tab, show in Finder. So this over here on the left, this new window, this is where my code lives. This is where the project folder is. So now I can drag and drop things over.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Anybody else have any questions? Was everybody able to? Brandon, how are you doing? Were you able to make a commit?
I thought I did, but I don't know what's going on.
Okay, let's take a look real quick. I'm going to jump to your Git repository. Take a look. Pushed a commit 5 minutes ago. So update style.css. That's the last thing that I see up here.
When I opened VS Code, it said it couldn't find Git. But I thought I did.
Do you mind sharing your screen? No, okay. So you move whatever window you're sharing, you move the code off of. All I see is a background picture. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you added it to this news.html. Okay, and then click on the GitHub desktop. Okay, so click back on to VS Code, and then in VS Code, just make a little change, like change snow to like snows, or I don't know, something. Save, click back to GitHub desktop. Okay, so GitHub desktop is tracking the changes. That looks good. Make a commit and push it. Oh, okay. Oh, I see the problem. Yeah, my script is looking for the word snow in a file called index.html. It was not expecting you to make the change in a file called news.html.
Oh,
So-
gotcha. Okay, it was so okay. I was freaking out. I'm like, what is
No.
the issue?
No, you're all good. Literally, if you made an index.html, put it in the top of your project and put the word snow in it, it wouldn't even have to be valid HTML. Just put the word snow in it, my script would think that you did it right. So
Okay,
cool.
gotcha.
Very nice. Okay.
Excuse me, Nate?
Yeah.
Does that mean that they could put it in as a comment, or it can just be like a random word in there when you say it doesn't have to be valid? It doesn't have to be between tags. Okay.
Yeah. My script is pretty dumb. Yeah, and for everybody that's been following along doing these exercises, feel free to rip out snow and horseshoe and pineapple. At this point, you really don't need to have those in your portfolio anymore.
Unrelated question. How do you write a script? Like, what is that?
Feel free to come to office hours, and I will talk to you about this Python script. Or if we have time today, I'd be happy to talk about Python. See, you guys are going to be doing JavaScript next week, just chomping at the bit to do some programming. I know it. Okay, let me share my screen, and let's get going with deploys today. All right. So quick recap. We are taking what's on our laptop, putting it on the cloud, the practicalities of the situation, the ISP. We all buy residential ISP lines, so we technically aren't legalities of trying to host an internet on a residential ISP internet connection, the fact that our MacBooks aren't that great at serving traffic, and also that our MacBooks really aren't designed for being secure website hosts. All these companies want your money. The cloud. Different types. We're talking about file hosting today. We will talk a little bit about application hosting today, and we will definitely talk about application hosting the next time that I see all of you. We will also talk a little bit about server hosting today or maybe tomorrow. Okay, so from the list of places that will take your money, we're talking about GitHub pages. All right, so yeah, spoiler, I've already kind of said this, but if you can commit and push to Git, you get deploys for free. You've actually been deploying all along, which is pretty cool. So GitHub will, for free, deploy a website for you so long as you follow some very specific rules. It's called a personal GitHub page. And the special rule is what you've already done. So if you take a repo and you name it in this format, username.github.io, and your repo is public, and you have an index.html in the root of your repo, congratulations, you've deployed. So just to go ahead.
The .io, is that the domain?
It is, yes.
That makes sense.
Did anybody know this? Did I successfully?
I mean, it makes sense now because I was like,
It makes
what-
sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I see, let's make a page.
Yep. .io is definitely a domain. So I'm going to go to du1ux.github.io. Hey, what do you know? It's the code. It's the code that we've been working on. So that it means for everybody in class, you should be able to go to that repo name in the browser and see your portfolio right now.
Okay, so we can have multiple page sources as long as we name the repo with a .io, or is there a limit?
Good question, and I will get into that. Is right after this, because yes, there is stipulations to do this. There are stipulations. So if you are able to reach your website, come over to the portfolio spreadsheet and go ahead and paste in the link to your website so we have it listed on here. So I'm going to go here and paste my working website. If you don't have a working website, that's totally fine too. Just make a note of it, and we will come back and work on it. Make sure that it's working.
Could you remind me, please, where you were linking to that?
The sheet.
Yeah,
It is in Zoom chat.
it is. Oh, Zoom chat. Thank you.
Mine is in my portfolio. Portfolio is just some code I have, just so I can follow along. So yeah,
But you have something, right?
yeah, it's
Okay.
something. Yep, yep.
Excellent. All right. So to follow up with what Schneider was saying before, you can have unlimited project pages, but you can only have one personal page. And personal page is that URL that we formed, username.github.io. GitHub doesn't put a limit on projects, but there are some stipulations for what can be a project or what can be deployed to GitHub pages. I think if you put down a credit card, some of these rules don't apply, such as the repo being public. I think if you put a credit card down, you can make private repos, but still push a website with GitHub pages. But in any case, the repo must have an index.html in the root of the repo. And there's an asterisk there because that is also actually modifiable. You can set up GitHub pages to look for other different names other than index.html. But by default, it's index.html. So I'm going to, while people are still kind of looking at their GitHub page website, I'm going to show you how you can make a GitHub page for other repos. So not just your personal GitHub page. And I'm going to do that using the repo that I made the other day, literally anything. So you don't need to do anything on your end right now. This is just for you to see if you're ever interested in adding GitHub pages to other projects. So I want to set this repo up to push a GitHub page. What is one of the rules for GitHub pages, for a valid GitHub page?
If your username.
So that's true if you're going to create a personal GitHub page. You can create unlimited project pages, and I'm going to set up a project page. So it doesn't have to be using my username.
Okay.
That has to be in there. No.
We will get an IO for free, and the IO only applies for the personal page.
Okay.
Project pages could be named anything in the URL, or sorry, in the name for the repo. They can be called literally anything. What is one of the rules for publishing a GitHub page?
You have to have the README file.
Close. You have to have something.
Hmm.
Does it have to be public?
There has to be the name of your account.
It has to be public and has to have an index.html. Those are the two things. So up here we could tell this is public because this isn't a lock. We can also tell because if we go to settings down here, we can see this repository is currently public. But two things, if you want to set up GitHub pages, this is for personal or project pages, either one. Must be public, must have an index.html. And the index.html requirement makes sense. Why does that make sense? Why would we need an index.html in order to deploy to GitHub pages?
You need,
It has some-
right.
Go ahead.
I was just saying you need something to deploy.
Right. When index.html is the standard for browsers, when they go to visit a website, they try to load a file called index.html. So if there is none, then yeah, what is the content that will be loaded? So it's less of a, this is a GitHub pages rule, and this is more of a, that's just a standard on the web. We need to have an index.html if we're going to publish a website. So I need to add an index.html to this project in order to make this a valid GitHub page. So to do that, I need to be able to work on this code, which means opening up GitHub desktop, clicking on the repo picker because I'm currently on my portfolio repo. I'm going to go click clone repository, and I'm going to clone. I'm going to clone down this project. I'm going to open up the code in Visual Studio so I can start adding things. I'm going to create a file called index.html. I'm going to write some terrible HTML. It will just have to do for now. Hello, this is literally anything. Save. Okay, go back here. Ooh, gotta get that new line.
Just an FYI, if you put an exclamation point and press enter, it will do that for you. On Visual Codes.
Exclamation point and hit enter.
No, if you remove the rest of the HTML that you just wrote, so if your page
Oh,
is, yeah, like I'll do literally that.
that's really cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, literally anything. Very, very cool. Okay. And add a new line. There we go. So I've got some code for index.html, creating my homepage for the website, literally anything. Okay, commit, push. All right. So now I have an index.html and my project is public. How do I get to my website? It's a trick question because there is no .github.io in the repository name here. So there is no website for us to go to. So for personal projects, for our personal page, when we do our username.github.io, GitHub makes that for us for free. It sets that GitHub page up for us for free. It's a special name and it's a special feature of GitHub. But if you want to create a page for a project, No, so not your personal portfolio, not your personal page. You want to make it for a project. You have to go into the settings tab, and then under settings, there's a pages section. And then right here where it says GitHub Pages is currently disabled, select a source below, select main, and hit save. And if we go back to the front of our page and refresh, we'll see there's now this yellow dot right here. And if I click on the yellow dot, hit details, these are actually servers that are running on GitHub right now that are taking the index.html and pushing it up onto the internet. So if I wanted to sit here and wait for all of this to run, eventually it will finish, and boom. So that was the build step. We still have a deploy step down here. It's going to take it a minute for it to. Oh, this is a lot quicker than I thought it would be.
So you can do all of this without putting down the credit card?
Yes. Yes. This is all free.
Even the
Pages?
having it deployed part, or no?
Yeah, this is all free. Yeah. So all of the computers that the servers that are being run here, they're community servers. So they're just whatever GitHub has on hand. So you may be stuck sometimes waiting for one of those servers to get freed up to pick up your job. But I've never actually run into that with the free stuff. They've always been very, very quick. Okay, so it says that it's done. Now I can come back to this page. It says your site is live. And notice that it is hanging my project off of my personal portfolio URL. So now if I open this up, hello, this is literally anything. So my project is now deployed on GitHub Pages. Now this is just for you in case you want to deploy more than one website. And go ahead.
Is that through the static HTML
Yes.
in Pages?
Yes. This is for if you want to deploy another set of static HTML pages. And the one case that I can think of where you would want to do that is probably for your capstone. If you're wanting to get started on your capstone early, this would be a great way to start pushing it up and testing it and being able to share it with others.
I started my capstone, but I didn't really follow through all those steps.
Yeah, don't worry about it. That if you didn't follow along with me just now, that's what all of tomorrow is for. So tomorrow is going to be a working session for any of those things that you want to do.
And just go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I got lost on those steps.
Yeah, absolutely. This is right now what I'm showing you is primarily just for your knowledge. All of the steps that I've gone through are highlighted here in the slides. If you want to go back and do this by yourself. Alternatively, that's what tomorrow is for. Is if you want to set up another website, I'm happy to help walk you through that. Right now, you don't need to set up another website. Right now, we're going to be primarily focused on just your personal GitHub page, which should already be deployed if you go to your special URL, yourusername.github.io.
Can I add a side note here, Nate?
Mhm.
I did this, but it was way after like my capstone was done and we had done projects like you all have been doing, like a weather app or a news page or your Netflix. And if I made them presentable, if I thought they were pretty enough, I guess, to be on the web, then I went through this step. When you do it, it's going to take you all of 2 minutes. It's going to be like, just go here, click that, and then you can just walk away. You don't have to sit there and wait for it to do what it's going to do. Like Nate said, it may take a while for it to get to the server and be served, but it'll be easier for you once you do it. So for me, it is something that I did for other projects I had, but I waited way later when I did that. And then I had a question. You said when they go to they go to settings, they go to pages, then they click on main. What if theirs has master, or is that not something that would happen? Will it always say main?
It won't always say main, like that issue that we ran into the other day where somebody had created a repository with the default branch of master. In that case, you would select, you would select whatever the branch is that has the index.html that you want. And then, yeah, you could hit save and it would deploy from that branch. All right.
I have a question as well. So
Yeah.
the literally anything one and the portfolio one, they both had the .io in there. That doesn't, they don't mess with each other, even though they're two separate pages.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You can run into problems, and I've had other cohorts where that has been a problem because, so which I believe, Schneider, what you're pointing out is the fact that this is our portfolio website, right? Our username.github.io. Projects get hung off of the URL here. Any project pages that you create get hung off of the URL. And so you can run into situations where you have collisions, where let's say, for example, your personal portfolio GitHub page, let's say you have a file called literally-anything. Well, that would be a valid URL in your personal portfolio, right? So you technically can create a collision if you have resources in your portfolio GitHub page that collide with projects that you're hanging with project pages. So it's possible to create those collisions, yes. And we've actually had that happen before. And it's kind of annoying because I forget which one resolves first. I believe that it's actually the parent that resolves. So last cohort, we had someone that created a repository called images. And everybody knows that images is a fairly common folder that they will put in their portfolio, right? So the student had in their portfolio, they had an images folder. Then they created a repository called images. In that repository, they put they set up as a project pages. So they were running into this issue where the images was not resolving correctly. So yes, long story short, yes, Schneider, that is totally a valid thing to be aware of.
So it just depends on the resources, I guess. If they're sharing resources, that's what I got from it. Like you said, with the images and stuff.
Yeah. The takeaway from that is don't create a repo called images. Don't create a GitHub repository called images. It's possible, and if you do create a GitHub repository called images, don't make it into a GitHub pages. Don't turn on pages for that project.
Hey, Nate, as a side note, because I feel like I almost heard this from a couple people, do you recommend they name their repos with .io in there? I was under the understanding that your personal page is the only one that should have a .io on it. And then any projects are going to extend from that. It's going to use your personal page and then just add that name on for that separate page. So do you recommend people use .io in the name?
I do. For the project pages, I don't, and I don't think you can get away with it. Or if you can, it's going to look kind of weird. Like, you're absolutely right. When you create a project page, not a project page, it does hang it, as you can see here, it does hang it off of the URL for your personal page. So if let's say we took literally anything, which is the name of this repository. Let's say that we tacked on .io. So what would that do to our GitHub pages URL? Well, now it would look like this. Is that desirable? I don't know. Does it make sense? Not really. .io is a TLD. It's like .com, .org, .net. To put that into the URL is not valid, and it doesn't really make much sense. Is it still legal? Can we go and visit it? Yeah, still a valid GitHub page, but I guess I would not recommend putting .io in the name of repositories that are not your personal GitHub page.
Let's go with is bad practice, I guess. It's considered bad practice.
Yes. Yeah, best practices and bad practice. That we would definitely put that in the bad practice bucket. But for folks listening and going, what the heck are these people talking about? This doesn't make sense to me. That's okay. We're kind of getting into the minutia right now of how project pages work. What we want to make sure that we all have covered tonight is our personal page. That should definitely be working. So if you go here, you should be able to also click on settings, go to pages, and see your URL and be able to click and visit your portfolio. If this is not working, we will, if that is not working, just make a note of it, and we will work on that either at the end of class or work on that tomorrow. Other questions or thoughts? Have I sufficiently confused enough people? I hope for the majority of folks, they're pleasantly surprised with how simple just pushing and getting a free website for their personal GitHub page. I'm hoping that people are feeling good about that.
I get it, but everything we just did, I'm so
Fair enough.
lost.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And that was not my intention. I just want to make sure that I do cover some of this in here, and it could probably be structured in a better way.
I can't find the settings or any of that.
Yeah. I don't think that you'll have to use this, and if you do want to use this to set up another project page for, say, your capstone, I'd be happy to go through that some more tomorrow. Okay, so let's talk about troubleshooting real quick. What kind of things can we do to mess up our GitHub pages?
I guess not having index.html. I'm not
Yeah.
really
Yeah, that is a good one. There's a couple, right? If we went and we changed our repository name to something that wasn't our username. So is this a valid personal GitHub page?
Your username is still deluxe, isn't it still valid? I
It
mean, mine
is.
is like get IO stuff because that's confusing, but yeah.
It is. So I renamed this and it no longer has deluxe at the beginning. So my username is not at the beginning. So I'm not following that special naming format for my GitHub repository. Therefore, I don't get that special short URL. I'm now doing deluxe.github.io/ and now it thinks that this is just another project page. So it's hanging it off of that special URL. This is one way that you can bork your personal GitHub page. And the solution to this is what everybody in class should already have, which is to name their repository correctly, to name it username.github.io. So that's kind of the first thing that you can do to break it. The second one that was already called out, and notice I now have a red X here because I broke deploys by doing that. But the other one that was called out was not having index.html. So if I were to go into Visual Studio Code, I need to switch back to my portfolio, close out of this, open this back up. So if I were to delete that, Git notices that the file is gone. I don't like my index.html. Push. Come back here. Notice how this icon has changed to this yellow dot, which means that something is running. I can go and click on that. And we can watch the build.
Now, Nate, can you explain that for this part? They don't need to do that. I wonder if that's where Jennifer was feeling like there was a lot going on. Like you don't have to watch the build.
Right. You do not have to come in here. I'm clicking into this to show a little bit of what's happening behind the scenes. You do not have to come in here and check on the build or check on the code that's running behind the scenes. What I'd like to illustrate here in a second, though, is we're about to get to this deploy step, and we should get a big red X here in a minute.
Now, if we had trouble deploying it, like if we had, I don't know, like an error that just wasn't allowing it to run correctly, it would definitely show up in that build order.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
That is exactly where you would go.
Okay.
Good intuition.
Is it better to watch that, especially with our capstone projects? Is it like recommended that we check it?
Honestly, with what you guys have right now, HTML and CSS, probably not. When you get into more advanced stuff later, because you're going to start dealing with backend code, setting up databases, running tests. When you start adding more of those complicated pieces, the chances of the build failing go up, just due to the complexity. My guess is you follow the instructions, index.html, repository is public. Those two things, you'll get a green check mark. And in fact, I just nuked my index.html and it gave me a green check mark. So let's actually see what happens when I go to the website now. Interesting. Can anybody guess what has happened?
Is it building the site from your README?
Sure is.
Oh,
So
okay.
GitHub thinks that it's smarter and it knows what it should do, and it has decided to take my README and push that up to the website.
So readmes can be processed by the browser?
I don't think so. I think that is GitHub taking the README and translating it into HTML during the build step.
Okay.
I don't think that
because the
browsers.
index is gone?
I don't think that it's doing that because the index is gone. I don't think that browsers natively can read Markdown. I'm going to chop out the README just to prove a point. Chop out the README. I don't like my README either. Push. Because I want to get a failing build. Refresh. There we go. Now we could just sit here and wait and refresh the page and see what happens. The reason why it's nice to come here and not necessarily click on this icon and see what's happening behind the scenes, but it's nice to come to this page and at least look at that icon, if only for you to know when the deploy finishes. Because one of the troubleshooting steps is you may get into a situation where you're trying to deploy to your website, you've written some code or you've updated something, you've committed, you've pushed, now you're waiting for that code to get deployed to your website. So being able to come to this page and seeing this icon, when this icon goes green or it goes red, either one of those two statuses, you will know that what you have pushed is either deployed or completely broken. Okay, refresh. Wow, we still got a green check mark. We don't have a README. We don't have an index.html. So what does our website look like? Well, now we get a 404 file not found. So we've borked our website. So that is the first thing to be aware of. We need to make sure that we have at least an index.html inside of our project. Other common problems that we've already kind of covered. Yeah, the deploy isn't finished yet. So if you want to make sure that your deploy is finished, just come here and look for the check mark.
So
we talked about go ahead.
Quick card. That's when you can go from an IO to a .com or whatever other domain.
You can do that for free, and I'm going to show you how to do that tonight.
Oh, okay, whatever. Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, can
Yeah.
we just do
Go
a
ahead.
quick poll to see how many people were able to see their portfolio site in the
Yeah,
web?
absolutely.
Were folks able to do that? I was trying to create a poll and I can't figure it out.
Let me make you host. I don't know if you've got perms. Okay, try now. Is this accurate? The people that put their GitHub pages linked on this sheet, were you able to get a working website? Okay, that's what I figured. I figured if folks weren't able to, then they wouldn't post a link, but. Okay. So those are kind of the real simple troubleshooting things that you can do for GitHub pages. And then of course the collision that we kind of went off on a tangent talking about, or I went off on a tangent talking about. You can run into situations where you have collisions between personal GitHub pages and project pages. But if something doesn't look right on your website or something isn't loading, feel free to reach out to me or Max or one of the TAs, and we'd be happy to help troubleshoot that. All right. I want to talk about a more involved, hard is one way of describing it, but there is another way of doing deploys. And if we have time, I'm going to try to cover that for the folks that are interested. And when I say the hard way, I really just mean this is actually renting a server to run your code on, which I think is pretty neat. But we'll get into that if we have time. So the other thing I want to talk about is domain names. Who here has already bought a domain?
I have a domain for a business, but like nothing to do with coding.
Has anybody bought a domain for the class yet? Please, nobody's please, everyone's tell me that you have not done this.
It looks like no one has done it, Nate.
Thank you.
They be reimbursed? I think they can be reimbursed through the stipend, right?
Yes. You should definitely get the reimbursement. It seems like every year people come to class and they've bought a domain through like GoDaddy, and some people buy it through like Google Domains, some people buy it through AWS, and it's like this mishmash. And I'm so thankful that none of you have bought one yet, because I'm going to beg all of you, please buy your domain through Namecheap. They are the best price and best set of features. So do not let anybody else tell you otherwise. When it gets time to buying a domain, please do it through Namecheap. And also, all the documentation I have is written for Namecheap. So if you want to have stuff from my slides that will actually make sense, please buy your domain through Namecheap. But we will get to that here in a minute. So the question is, how do we turn this really ugly deluxe.github.io, or whatever your GitHub username is, how do we turn that ugly URL into a brand friendly URL? And the answer is through a system called DNS. And DNS stands for Domain Name System. Is anybody here familiar, or has anybody heard of DNS? Artrell, do you want to take a stab at just what you think DNS is or what you've used it for in the past?
Well, I haven't really used it, but I guess it's I'm not gonna be able to explain it well.
That's okay. That's fine. So you can think of DNS as a phone book. And really all DNS is it's a system for taking these human readable names like google.com and turning them into the actual IP addresses behind the scenes. So everybody knows how to get to Google. Everybody knows how to get to Facebook using those words, but your browser still needs to be able to translate that into an address to request things like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that sort of stuff.
Was that
and there's
IP4 and IP6, version 4 and version 6?
Yeah, a good point. And right now I'm showing an IPv4 address, which is these separate octets, all separated by a period. The IPv6 is even more different. Has anybody seen an IPv6 address before?
They have letters in it, right?
Right. They're much longer, and they have alphabetical alphabet letters in them. So the reasoning behind that is, and I know we're kind of going off a tangent for a second, but the reason for that is we're literally running out of numbers in IPv4. So IPv6 is a much greater address space for assigning locations in. So if we go back to the slide, we're actually running out of these numbers in the scheme for IPv4. So in most of the examples, and especially when we go to hook up our domains, we're going to be using IPv4 because it's still quite easy and it's not necessarily supported by everyone yet. Or sorry, we're going to be using IPv4 because IPv6 is not necessarily supported yet. Yes. Yep, go ahead.
IPv6 throws a bunch of more variables in there because numbers are moving out.
IPv6 just looks different and kind of works a little bit different. I want to actually get a IPv6 address to show you.
Binary.
Here we go. So here is an IPv6 address. Compare and contrast that with an IPv4 address, which would look something like 127.0.0.1. So the designers of the early internet protocol started out with something like this that represented a series of octets. So you had 4 sets of numbers that you could play with, but we have run out of this being enough addresses for all of the locations on the internet. Similar to how with computers, we've gone from needing 32-bit processors to 64-bit processors. We've needed more addressable memory in order to do bigger computations. This is fairly, I say it's fairly new. How long has this been around for? History. Historical notes. So this was actually described in 2004.
Yeah. What? Described? I don't see described. See deprecated.
Was mentioned in 95, but never fully described. And then in 2006, they deprecated. Anyways, neither here nor there. The point is that DNS just acts as a phone book, and whether it's IPv4 or IPv6 behind the scenes is not so much of a concern because we don't really want to deal with the numbers ourselves either. But in order to talk about domains, we need to have a fundamental or a rudimentary grasp of what DNS is. So domain name system really is just this phone book that takes human readable things and translates them into an address.
I have one last question. Since we're getting to domains, does it help to know about TLDs or no?
We could talk about TLDs. In fact, that's a part of that's a useful part of DNS. Yep, we'll talk about that here in a second. So the question is, with DNS, how do we take the current URL that we're given for free, our username.github.io, how do we take that and turn it into something that we like deluxe.com, or a TLD that we want, like nathanevans.org, or cohort, fall cohort 22, something like that. So how do we take these GitHub addresses and turn them into something usable? And the answer is, well, we just need to add an entry into DNS that points to the GitHub servers, the GitHub server IPs. And I will show that here in a minute. Just a little bit more information about DNS. The phone book, or the place that stores all of the human readable names, like google.com, facebook.com, so on and so forth, that stores all of those human readable names and then maps them to the internet addresses. Those phone books are run by pretty big companies. So really popular DNS providers are Google. So these are kind of the really common ones. VeriSign also has some really common ones. More than likely, if you're using a company like Comcast or Verizon, you're actually using their DNS instead of one of these bigger DNS providers. And I added this in. You probably shouldn't use it. Use your ISP's DNS. This is something that you can feel free to look at, but there have been privacy issues for people that run DNS. Like if you run DNS, you effectively can see where people are going. Like, for example, if I were to operate the DNS for everyone in this class, if I were to operate the DNS, all of your computers would effectively be asking me for the internet addresses for the websites that you're visiting. Well, if I were a malicious person, I could pay attention to which addresses you were trying to look up. Okay, Kalai is trying to visit google.com at 6:42 p.m. I could track people based on what types of things they're looking up in their DNS. So ISPs have had a pretty poor track record of taking that privacy seriously. So if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, you can actually change which DNS provider you use to someone that you actually trust. And here are some popular free ones that are pretty trustworthy. Question: Why would a DNS provider? Why would we share DNS providers by their IP address? Why aren't these addresses? Why aren't these like google-dns.com?
The computer needs the binary code.
The computer needs the raw IP address in order to find the DNS, in order to find the phone book. So it's kind of a chicken and egg problem. In order to find the phone book, to be able to look up other websites, you need to be able to reach that phone book. Well, how do you reach that phone book without having DNS to reach it? Well, the answer is you need to know the IP address. So that's why these really popular DNS providers, that's why they make these IP addresses that are easy to remember, like 1.1.1.1 and 8.8.8.8. It's because they couldn't offer these as domain names like google-dns.com. If they did, you would require DNS, which kind of defeats the purpose of DNS. Does that make sense? It's kind of a tricky situation. Okay, so what does buying a domain mean? Well, first off, you're not really buying a domain, you're renting rights to it, and you're renting usually for a period of a year, but there's really no limit. You can you can rent a domain for any number of years that you want. I don't know what the upper limit is, but renting a domain for 5 years is not uncommon. So when you rent the domain, you're really just buying rights to that slot in the phone book, similar to phone numbers. You're really just you're asking the carrier to associate that website or that phone number with your server or wherever you want that domain name to go. So the question is, how can we inspect and see where these phone book entries are going? So before we go and start buying domain names, let's take a quick peek under the hood and see what DNS is actually doing so we kind of get a better understanding. And you can inspect how DNS is working yourself using a program called dig in the terminal. And I'm going to do the driving here. You don't have to do this on your machine unless you want to. I would encourage people to try this themselves. But to get to the terminal, we would use Spotlight, so Command and Spacebar. Type in terminal. You'll get a screen similar to mine, but colors might be kind of different. As long as you have a cursor there and you can type things in it, you're good to go. So the dig command takes one argument. So you type in dig space, and then you give it an argument, and the argument would be whatever website it is that you want to inspect with DNS. So I'm going to inspect google.com and hit enter. Now on my screen, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of stuff in here, but the most important parts I'm going to point out and highlight here. Dig is making a DNS request to Google saying, give me whatever addresses or whatever IP addresses are associated with this website. And here we can see that there was one reply. So this answer means that there was one reply from the other end. And in this answer section, we can see that for google.com, we should send all of our traffic or all of our requests to the address 172.217.14.206. And then down here, we can see that the server that actually answered this request, that actually responded, that was holding on to the phone book, was actually 8.8.8.8.8. And that's because I'm using Google for my DNS. If I run dig again, I actually notice that the IP address changes. So when I queried Google again, asking it, okay, if I were to open my browser and go visit google.com, what address would I need to go to? The second time that I asked, the answer actually changed. And the reason why is because Google has hundreds upon thousands of servers that manage their products. And so they have a huge fleet of IP addresses and servers that will respond to your request. So that IP address will change every time that you query it.
That's interesting. And he said that the IPv6 isn't commonly used, because I think my server is that. I mean, I don't understand what it means, but I'm seeing a mix of letters and numbers under my server.
Do you want to share your screen?
Sure. I can't. I'm on my other laptop.
Oh, okay. I think dig will actually. Sorry, I'm trying to get the right screen here. I think you can actually force dig to use IPv6 and return IPv6 results. This is just going to be a website. So if we do dig, no, this isn't right. Get IPv4 and IPv6 in one command. Let's see. So let's try this. Google.com. Google.com. Oh, there we go. So yeah, you can get Dig to return both IPv6 and IPv4 if you're so inclined.
I'm not, but it was just interesting, I guess.
Yeah, that is cool. That is really cool. Notice that that the IPv6 changes on repeat queries, but IPv4 is changing, but it doesn't look like IPv6 is changing. Oh, no, it is. 805.80b. So they have rotating IPv6 addresses as well. All right. The reason why we're covering this though right now is because we're about to go and buy domains for our website. And one of the things that we're going to need to do when we buy the domain, I'm going to keep using buy and rent interchangeably, but when we go and buy the domain, there's going to be a period of time in which after buying that domain, the changes when you buy the domain will need to propagate to all of the phone books around the world so that everyone knows that you bought the domain and everybody knows where your domain points to. And we can use Dig to check and see what those phone books have and to check the status of our the purchase of our domain. Okay. And then you can also Dig using a specific DNS provider. I use this all the time. So like if right now I do Dig google.com and I want to check the phone book that my internet provider is providing me by default, which down here is 8.8.8.8. That's a Google DNS. If I wanted to check a phone book from another company, 1.1.1.1, does anybody remember which phone book that was?
That was Cloudflare.
Cloudflare, nice. Yep. So if I wanted to check Cloudflare, which is another major internet DNS provider, if I wanted to check and see, okay, do they know the fact that I just bought a domain name and set it to point to my GitHub? Do they know about that? Well, I can query that phone book or that DNS directly by using this extra argument. So Dig allows you to pass in 2 arguments if you want to specify a phone book. So I can run Dig against that phone book and notice that phone book also knows how to get to google.com, which is no surprise. But down here, notice that the server has changed. We sent the query to Cloudflare directly. So with Dig, you can inspect multiple DNS providers to see, okay, what is the state for my DNS record? There are multiple types of DNS records. We're going to be setting very specific DNS records for our domain. This kind of just describes the different types of DNS records. You don't really need to know all the differences between them. But Schneider was mentioning TLDs. There are specific servers. There's about 13 of them last time I checked. There are specific servers that contain a phone book for each TLD. So these are called root servers. And if you think of the internet as this giant tree, there is at the very top of that tree, specifically the DNS part of the internet. At the top of that tree, there are 13 or so entities that have these master phone books. And these master phone books, these master DNS records, are broken up by each of those TLDs. So you have one DNS, one set of DNS records for all of the major .com entries, and then the same for .org, .io, .net, all of the big ones that you could think of. And then from those phone books, it's like a big tree. In fact, I have that picture on the next slide. From that, it breaks down into even smaller phone books, because when I say 13 root servers, I'm not saying that every single computer in existence right now. I'm not saying every single computer is querying those 13 servers. That would be impossible. There's no way, unless they were, I don't know, supercomputers, liquid cooled, massive computer. There's no way that 13 computers could handle the global amount of global DNS requests. Instead, those 13 computers are responsible for managing the highest level DNS records, and then they get broken down until we get to your domain name, which is closer to what are called the second level domains in this diagram. Those second level domains, those DNS entries are housed in phone books that are globally distributed across many, many computers. And that is what, those are the phone books that get queried every time you go and visit a website in your browser. A lot of this is knowledge for your own education, just about DNS and kind of the big picture going on behind the scenes. Don't expect everybody to totally grok this, but does anybody have any questions? Anybody curious about anything that we've covered so far with DNS?
What's a Jupyter brain?
Computer.
NSA servers, maybe the NSA is running the. Anyways.
Is this like the Illuminati of servers?
The 13, the ring of 13 servers that control all them. All right, and then this is kind of the taxonomy of a URL. You know, we've talked about I'm sure that everyone is familiar kind of intuitively with these different parts, but when we say TLD, we're talking about the top level domain. That's the designation that you buy at the end of your URL. You can choose to be a part of .io, .au, .edu. There are some restrictions on which TLDs you can buy, like edu, for example, is a really dev is also another really good one. There are some restrictions, like I know there are certain country code TLDs where the website needs to be registered by someone who lives in the country. .edu is the really famous one that you need to prove that the website that you're putting on a .edu is accredited and recognized as an actual university. .com is a free-for-all. Everybody knows that. Org is kind of a free-for-all. Net is a free-for-all. Most TLDs are a free-for-all. And then the domain name is the part here in the middle. The subdomain www, we don't see this a whole lot nowadays. That's kind of a holdover from the early days of the internet. And then the protocol, HTTP and HTTPS, most people aren't seeing HTTP anymore unless they're developers like you and I, where we will sometimes do our development on our own machines just using HTTP and not worry about the S part. But we will talk about HTTPS extensively the next time that we meet. Places that will take your money and give you a domain. All of these places, please buy a domain with Namecheap. I'm not sponsored by them, but all of my instructions are written for Namecheap. Please buy one with Namecheap. All right, let's buy a domain. But before we do, I think we're long overdue for a break. Thank you all for letting me babble on for a long time. Let's take a 20 and come back at 7:20.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. There we go. All right, welcome back. So now is the fun / stressful part, depending on what kind of person you are, of buying a domain. Does anybody know what they want their personal portfolio domain name to be? So if you open up your browser and go to namecheap.com, the front page should help you search for a good domain name. Now, this is just me, but if you're lucky enough, you might be able to do something like this, first-last.com, because I've got a super generic name. I'm not that lucky, but you might be more lucky. I'm gonna suggest for everybody listening in class, I'm gonna suggest that you get a .com. This is for you. This is for your portfolio, so you do whatever you want. But a friendly suggestion: get a .com. There are much cheaper, weirder. Like, for example, I can save a couple bucks and get an org, or I can save $7 and get a .store TLD. Get a .com. It really is just the best way to share your brand and to share your portfolio. But if you don't have any ideas of a good domain name for your brand, I would start with something centered around your name. If that doesn't work, then something centered around your hobby, or maybe where you live, or something along those lines. This is the part where I have to come up with one to demo in class.
I looked up one,
So,
Nathan,
so if a check
and
comes up, if a check mark comes up and it says how much a year add to cart, it means that it's available.
And it's reasonable. And if it's reasonable price.
$9.58 a year.
Looking good.
mine is over 2,000.
Yeah, just drop the credit card down. It's an investment in yourself.
I'm gonna have to come up with
What did
something
you
else,
search?
obviously.
What did you
Yeah, that's
search?
good.
Oh,
That's gonna be up.
the name I use, m2productions.com.
Okay, and that was over 2,000.
Yeah, $2,425, renews at $14.58 a year.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
the renewal is so cheap. You'd be a fool.
What determines these prices?
People scout. That's the people park domains. If you've ever heard of that term, like they will just buy it, sit on it, not use it, and expect people to pay thousands of dollars. Especially when popular events hit. Like some people will try to get ahead of it and buy up domains in anticipation of certain things. And then yeah, it's
Okay, so I got lucky with a my name, last name.com, and it's only $10 a year. So it's telling me you're frequently bought together. Do I need any of that stuff?
no. And before you get much further, let me can somebody be my inspiration and give me anything? Thinking like horseshoe,
Pineapple.
pineapple.
That's probably
Pineapple.
taken. You can do
No.
cohort 4. If you don't find pineapple, try cohort 4.
Dude. Oh, okay. Horseshoe pineapple snow.com. All right. 958. You think I should steal cohort 4? Okay. Maybe I could scalp this and get Max to try to buy it from me. Cohort 4. Cool. I'm gonna park this and see if I can get. All right, cohort 4. Right. So they're gonna try to sell you on stuff, especially the SSL. Do not pay for the SSL. It's the one kind of scummy thing Namecheap does. Not really scummy, but we'll talk about that later. And it looks like there's also a discount code if you want to save Hack Upstate a couple dollars. Okay, I'm gonna go to checkout. When you get to this page, there's the ICANN fee, which you must pay. Make sure that you check your box to whatever length of registration you want. It's safe to just set it to 1 year, especially because you will get a ton of email notices when it starts to come around to that 1 year mark. Not only will Namecheap remind you, but also after the 1 year mark, there is a grace period required by law. There is a grace period where you can still purchase and recover that domain. So if in doubt, just go for a year. And then if you want to bump it up later because you really like the domain, that would be my suggestion. The domain privacy, this free forever, just leave that checked. Do not enable premium DNS. Do not enable any of these add-ons, hosting, any of this. It's not needed.
Even if it's free?
Especially if it's free, because that's how they get
Okay.
you.
Gotcha.
Is it one of those free now and then they charge you later things? Is that why?
Yeah, I mean, some of it is kind of gimmicky, like, you know, they'll give you a free email account for a couple months, that sort of thing. But I just try to shy away from that because like SSL and email specifically, those two things you could do yourself fairly easily. Okay, this is the part where I pay for this off screen. Is anybody having problems? Does anybody need help, creativity in terms of coming up with a domain name to buy?
What was your link? Did you just get the 1 year one?
I just got 1 year. Yep.
So if I try to disable the domain privacy, the free forever, it brings up this big scary banner.
Do take that. That's the one thing that you can buy for free.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean you shouldn't say yes to, you shouldn't say no to anything free. That one that they give you, the free forever DNS protection, that's also required by law. So they're not really doing you any favors, but yes, keep that enabled.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, so just to be extra clear, leave this checked here, this domain privacy. Do leave that checked. Do not check the premium DNS stuff though. Anybody having problems? Anybody got questions or?
Does it matter which one I use? Like my capstone project is like a retro animation streaming site with like channels and stuff like that. So like, does it matter which domain type I get, like a .net, .org, or a .ai?
You cannot go wrong with .com. I would definitely try to stick with .com if possible. But you know, it's on you. It's up to you. Like especially if you got something like really clever, you know what I mean? Like some of those places where they'll like match up their domain name and make it work with the TLD. If you got something really clever, like feel free, but
Okay.
.com would be my suggestion.
And also, well, I mean, the .com is owned on GoDaddy, so it's like $70. Yeah. I don't know.
$70 for a domain is crazy.
Yeah, I was looking at the other ones and they're not like that. Like the other ones are like 1098. Like .net is 1098. .tech is 888. .art is 188, you know?
Okay,
Still
so
cheaper than 2,400.
what determines the prices then? Like minus the whole scalping or parking, as you said. Like, is it just they just put a price tag on it and that's it? Nothing more to it?
Yeah, I don't know how scalpers come up with the price. When the ICANN, the Internet Address Authority, the people that handle all that stuff, when they release new TLDs, I don't know how they set those prices. I think they come up with the prices themselves, but then, you know, when the scalpers buy it and they park the domains, it's up to them. They figure out.
Since it's like a live stream, should I get this .live for 78 a year?
I don't think so. I think honestly, I think anything that's not .com is a gimmick.
Oh.
Especially if, I don't know about your capstone in the game, because that could be different, but especially for your portfolio and your personal brand, you know, if you're meeting someone for the first time and they're like, okay, where can I find you? And you go, well, you could find me at Nathan Evans dot live stream. They're gonna go, what? Like, you know, everybody's used to hearing .com when you say something, and they kind of know instantly what that means. You lose that a little bit when you buy a TLD that's not .com. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead.
I was gonna say I feel like .net would be the next best thing because that's also kind of common.
.net's pretty common. .org's pretty common. It's all up to you though. It's really what it is that you're trying to achieve. Like, especially if you're trying, if all you need is a place to test some code, like you can get the cheapest thing that you want because you're not going to share it. You don't really need to send it to other people necessarily. So if it's just for you, you can get the TLDs that are like $1.50 or something. There's some really cheap ones. Exona?
Yeah, so I am on the namecheap.com. We're buying these, right? Ourselves?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, cool. So can I share my screen? Because I'm not it says the domain privacy. Because I don't have an account created, so I had to create one. Should I associate to this domain enable at the time of the purchase? Hold on, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
That's easier. Come on.
Ensures that the personal info does not show up in the WHOIS database. Yes, leave that checked. Yep.
Okay, and this one, save configuration, no. Okay. And then just continue. Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right because when it comes to privacy, that's personal info. Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be in the olden days that your address, you needed to have a legitimate address on file when you created a domain, and you still have to, but it's changed nowadays that one database that holds everyone's addresses that are associated with the website, they now mask that because privacy. So that's what that box was checking for.
Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. Oh, looks good. Anybody else having problems, questions? Everybody pretty much able to get a domain. And as far as the reimbursements go, I'm pretty sure that it's whatever process that you've been following already. Is anybody familiar with the reimbursement process so far?
We already have the card, so everybody should be putting into their own card.
Okay.
I didn't open the account yet. Yeah.
I know that Jesse has encouraged reimbursing these in the past, so please take advantage of that. In fact, take advantage of two. Make sure that you get one for your personal portfolio, which we're going to use tonight for your brand, but make sure that you also grab another one for your capstone. And please do them both. Please do them both for Namecheap and make it easier on me and yourself.
So can we still just use the .io for the capstone?
You do you. I've said what I've said my piece. I'm not. It's on you. Between you and Namecheap now. In all likelihood, your portfolio is probably going to outlive your capstone. Would
Yeah.
you say that, Latonia? Okay.
Yes,
So go ahead.
no, I was just saying I agree.
Yeah, so I would .com for portfolio, and then yeah, free for all and Capstone if you want.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I did .com. Once I had that, I went to .dev, just because I like the sound of it. But yeah,
How is the .dev pricing?
it's the same. I didn't pay
Okay.
anymore. Yep.
Was anyone able to get the cheaper price with the code or no?
I got, I'm paying right now, but it discounted the money.
Okay.
Yes, total mine is 716.
Why is mine not doing that?
There was a promo code that we could use.
I should have pasted that in chat. It was like newcom
69.
18.
698. 698.
I don't see it.
Will you type that in chat?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I tried to do that, but it didn't recognize it. Interesting.
All right, we're gonna give just a couple more minutes for people to finish buying up domains. Once you have your domain bought, please come back over to the GitHub spreadsheet. And I know we haven't linked your domain up yet with your GitHub page, but please come back to the GitHub spreadsheet and add that in. There's another column in there. I will put that in Zoom chat.
Okay, so once we press play, pay now, then what do we do?
Sit tight. Come grab whatever domain you bought. Come open the spreadsheet and throw it on your row, so we have that in there as well. And then sit tight.
Okay.
Nathan, I'm sorry, my domain is gonna be a little tricky. I'm familiar with the process of buying one though, so I didn't buy one like right now, but I'm gonna give it some time to figure out what I want to do with mine. Is that all right if I just follow along?
Totally. Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
It's definitely, especially for the capstone. Yeah, you could probably just quickly pick one for your personal brand. Yeah, I know, I get it. In all of the stuff that I'm about to cover, linking to GitHub pages to your domain is in the slides, and I feel like they're pretty good instructions. So yeah, you can definitely come back and do it. All right. So you should see a screen kind of like this once you're done. If you have navigated away from the screen, no big deal. I'll show you how to get back to something that looks kind of like this here in a second. I actually bought cohort 3. I didn't realize that I had that. All right. Yeah, I have cohort 3. I didn't use it at all. Cohort 4. All right. So the next step is we're going to link up the domain name with our GitHub page, so that we can use it. Before we do that, I want to point out the two-factor authentication on Namecheap. This is kind of one of those things where if you can take a second to turn on two-factor, I don't know if they made you do it when you were signing up for the account. Was anybody forced to do that?
No.
Okay. Well, it may not seem important right now, but this is one of those things where if a hacker gains control of your Namecheap or your domain, they can send anybody anywhere. Obviously, they would control where your domain points to. So this is one of those things where if you take a second and turn on two-factor, it's probably a good idea to do that. All right. So let's talk about how we link things. So to get to this page, just go to namecheap.com. Click on account, make sure you're signed in, click on account up in the top and go to your dashboard. You should see a list of the domains that you have bought on the dashboard. Find the domain, click manage. So this is the control panel for your domain.
Quick question, can I turn on two-step in the settings? Because I didn't get the whole turn that on part.
To turn on two-factor for your account, go
Yeah.
to the account profile, security, and then set two-factor here.
Thank you.
Yep. And now that I've shown that on camera, let me refresh my pin. Okay. All right, great. So yep, we should all be looking at the domain that we've bought for our personal portfolio. One of the important things to make sure that you have selected is Namecheap Basic DNS down here in this name servers box. By default, mine was set to Basic DNS. I'm hoping that everyone else's is also set to Basic DNS. If it's not, make sure that that's selected there.
I can't seem to find how to get to that. So if you go back to the other page, to the
Okay.
domain page, mine, instead of manage, it says verify contacts. Is anyone else showing that? Or is it just me?
Even for me, it says verify contacts. So
Verify contacts. So do you still need to enter in an address to associate?
I don't know. And once you press it, they sent out an email. So we're just gonna, sorry, I know it's kind of,
That's okay. Check your email.
no,
Do you
actually,
need?
if she scroll down, she have the option of manage in there. So view contacts, you just press the down arrow, it shows the manage.
okay, let me find it again. Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Very nice.
Never mind,
Thank you.
continue.
Thank you, Clyde.
Sorry.
Cool. So once you're on the manage page, Namecheap Basic DNS should be selected down here. Click over to the advanced DNS tab up here. So see where it says domain, products, sharing and transfer, advanced DNS. Click on advanced DNS.
I'm sorry, checking out. Do I click these boxes for automatically renew domain and then domain registration, premium DNS, or free domain privacy?
The free domain privacy, opt into that. Everything else don't, unless you want the free renewal, or unless you want the automatic renewal. I don't do automatic renewal just because I like to manually go in and rebuy.
Fair. So do I do domain registration?
Yeah. How about you share your screen real quick? Because I don't want to. There's a bunch of boxes to click there. I don't want to lead you astray.
Okay.
So, domain registration, yes. Free domain privacy, yes. Yeah, looks good. Looks good to me.
Okay.
So I need to set up my DNS after I've paid for it, right?
Yes, that's what we're working on next.
Okay.
Shoot.
Oh yeah, if you plan on buying more.
Sharing my screen. Okay, there we go.
Okay, let me go back to sharing mine. So Jennifer, you have bought domain, right?
I have.
Okay, and are you looking at a screen similar to mine? Are you on the advanced DNS tab?
I'm not. Each time I go to it, it wants to take me to like a how to do it page.
Oh, can you get back to this domain page, this domain tab?
Suppose I just click on my name at the top. No.
So to get to this page, this dashboard, if you hover over account and click on dashboard, it should take you to the list of all the domains that you have. Do you see that?
Maybe I just need to make my screen bigger. Let's look. I'm still on like the payment page. I don't know where to go to get out of it.
Did you finish purchasing the domain?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, please do. Let me stop.
I'm on this page.
Okay, scroll up. Yeah, you can get to it just by clicking on that manage, that big orange manage.
Orange manage.
In the bottom middle of, yep, that right there.
Well,
And then click on the advanced DNS tab to the right. You're on the domain tab, see products, sharing and transfer, advanced DNS, all that.
okay.
Yep, go to advanced. Perfect, you're right where you should be.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so once you are on the advanced DNS page, is anybody not able to get here? Not able to get to this?
I'm still about to check out.
Okay. Wait, just a little bit.
Into buying the DNS. I don't mind, but I just don't know where to go.
So you bought the domain, right? You are muted, I think.
Sorry. Yep. I clicked on it, but it's not. Hold on, I probably gotta fill something out. Oh, that's because it didn't populate my card again. CBC. Okay. Just again. I don't know why, but it's not letting, oh, that's why. Why is it not letting me?
Do you want to share your screen or?
Not yet, because it's credit card information that it's not letting me.
While they do that, can you help me with something? Can I share my screen and show
Yep.
you something? And I don't know what
Yes.
I mean.
Yeah, my bad.
Absolutely.
So in my main domain here, it says that there's an alert for mine. Is that something to be concerned about or no?
No, because your domain is valid for next year. I'm guessing that this is probably more of that validation stuff. Did you get an email asking you to verify like your account or?
Mine says the same thing, Exona.
Yeah, okay.
See that top email, immediate verification required. Are you? I'll bet you this is it. It probably just wants you to.
I'll read through it.
Yeah,
That's
I'll stop your screen share.
I think that's an email you're gonna get once a year. They're gonna ask you just to verify your information hasn't changed. And you would
Mhm.
just, if it's all set, I think you don't do anything. If there's any changes, you'll need to do something. I can't remember on the first go though, if you have to click anything. So it's pretty straightforward.
Right. It's part of abuse prevention. Like they want to make sure that there's a real human that's on the other end in case of complaints and abuse.
Okay.
But as far as I know, that won't affect tonight. But it's good to be on top of that. Okay. How are we looking, Jordan?
I purchased it, so let me share and show
Okay.
you where I'm at. So, oh, I can't share.
I stop.
And then
Manage.
right there.
Yep. And then click on the make this a little bit wider, this window a little bit wider. And then click on the advanced DNS tab. Perfect. You're right along with us.
Right here. Perfect.
Yep, you're right where that's right where we are at right now.
Cool. Thank you.
Anybody else?
There is a below that email there is a link to verify your email address. You just click it and agree. I think they gave a time frame to agree to it. So I think once it is done, it says your email will be verified and we don't have to do anything. So in the same email.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So let's wire this up. So you should have the advanced DNS tab selected. There are 2 DNS records. So think of this section as that phone book that we were describing. You can put any number of entries that you want into this phone book because this is your slot in the phone book. This is where you control the where DNS is going to send people when they visit your website. It's going to go to these entries. And you can see right now, it has 2 records. Yours might look a little bit different, but mine that I just bought, it has 2 records. And if you go and visit cohort4.com right now, you'll see that you end up on this parking page. And I think my ad blocker is actually preventing it, but there should be ads on here. So if anybody wants to see, you can do the same thing and look at your domain. But Namecheap is parking your domain for you when you buy it, which is not what we want, right? We want our website to go to our GitHub portfolio. So we are going to trash these 2 records. So here on the right, you should see some trash can icons. Just click on them and say yes and delete both of them. You shouldn't have anything there. It should say no records found. Ignore the other stuff down below for now. Okay. And now we're going to add some records. So we'll click the add new record right below the no records found. We'll click that red add new record. And the type of record we're going to create is an alias record. So not a dynamic, not a quadruple A, an alias record. In the host field, we're going to put the @ symbol. And then inside the value, we're going to put our GitHub link. So for mine, it's deluxe.github.io. So I'm going to grab that and paste that in here for the value. The UI is a little confusing here, but in order to save this, you hit the green check mark over here on the right. So once you have @ symbol, you have an alias record with a host @ symbol, and value is your URL to your GitHub page. Go ahead and click the green Save Changes. All right. So we've gotten one half of this. We've gotten the DNS side on Namecheap done. Now we need to go over to GitHub and tell GitHub about the domain that we made. So to do that, you will open up github.com and go to your repository, the place where we've been storing our portfolio code. And to get that link back to your repository, you could just go to github.com. In the top right, you can go to your repositories and find it that way. But navigate back to GitHub and come back to your .github.io repository.
So if I were to delete this repository, this my profile one off of GitHub, that means that the domain would no longer work. It'll be a 404 if I try to open it up.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be a 404 necessarily, but it would in effect break it. Yes, because GitHub is what's hosting your website.
But then could
Good point.
Another repository under that domain name, and that would open up if I link it.
Yeah. And you can move it around. It doesn't have to stay here. We're setting this up for class. It's your domain. You can point it wherever you want.
Because I don't have my actual portfolio. I didn't know if I did this, it would be set in stone or not.
Nope, not set in stone at all. No, this is definitely, you can come back and customize this later. Okay. So once you get back to your GitHub repository, your portfolio code, click on the settings tab. The settings tab is right here in the middle of my screen, at least. Click on settings right here. And then over on the left, we're going to go to the pages section. So pages about midway through on the sidebar on the left. Once you're on the pages section, there is a custom domain box down here. And this is where you'll enter in the domain that you bought. So for mine, I bought cohort4.com. I'm going to hit save. And then I'm also going to, as soon as it lets me, I'm going to check the enforce HTTPS box. Right now, it's going to provision the HTTPS for me, so we can't click it just yet. But go ahead and come in here, come down to the custom domain. We're on the settings page, this pages section down here in custom domain. Enter in your domain that you bought on Namecheap and hit save. Anybody having problems getting something on? You will see something like this. Your domain is improperly configured. You will see this. That is not an issue. If you're seeing that, you're in good hands. Jordan?
Mine says, just a moment, I'm sorry. DNS check unsuccessful in red, but below the custom domain box when I try to save it. Says
Perfect.
that. Perfect.
Yeah, so this is where things kind of get a little weird, because we were talking about those 13 servers. We're talking about how DNS is this big global phone book. It's going to take an undetermined amount of time for all of those phone books to get updated. So we went and we added the information into the phone book by going to the advanced DNS page on Namecheap, but it's going to take a while for those changes to propagate to all of the other phone books. So we're going to have errors for a little bit, is kind of the short way of saying this.
If I don't have one of those error boxes.
Ooh, then you're one of the lucky ones. Are you able to visit your domain name in the browser and get to GitHub, to your GitHub page?
Let's see. No. Check if there's a typo. I don't see one.
It won't allow me to enforce HTTPS.
It will not allow you to.
Do we have to check enforce HTTPS?
Yes, please do.
Ew.
If it will let you. When you first fill in the custom domain, it takes a second to generate.
So it's supposed to be clicked or not?
It is supposed to be clicked. You will want to have enforce HTTPS set. For my domain, it looks like it's taking it a little bit to get to set up the DNS for it. But if you get an error like this, like you see on my screen, or it's red, that is perfectly fine for right now. And we will jump into troubleshooting here in a second to see what the status is of that.
I've got this site can't be reached.
Do you want to share your screen? Because it sounds like you got something a little bit different than what I have.
Yeah, totally.
Is our TTL tip supposed to be automatic?
Yes. All right, go click on pages, the GitHub pages behind you. Okay, so you have that set. Click save. There we go. Scroll down.
Maybe it just didn't see yet.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going. There you go. Now it's doing the same thing. Yep.
Hooray, an error.
Yep. Yep. It's also provisioning a certificate so you can enable HTTPS down below. It's just going to take a little bit of time. This is one of those things that it can be kind of slow sometimes for these things to get created.
So if it's yellow or red, giving the same improperly configured error is the same thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen the red though. Do you mind sharing your screen, showing what the red box looks like?
Mine's saying it's not eligible for HTTPS at this time.
Okay. DNS check unsuccessfully. You hit save and its alternate name. All right. So keep your screen shared for a second, Alba. Yeah.
You know what I did was I just clicked on check again, and then it like refreshed the page a little bit, and then I could see if I was able to scroll over and force HTTPS, and then I was able to. So I don't know if that will help, but it still says domain's DNS record could not be retrieved, but I was still able to click on enforce HTTPS. So I don't know if that helps.
So yeah, try click and check again. Let's wait a second, see what happens. And while this is going, go click over on the advanced DNS back in. Okay, that makes more sense. Go click on the advanced DNS tab that you had previously open up in the top. Yeah, and show me that. Okay. Yeah, your record is set. Just wait for a second. Let's give this a little bit of time. I think you're all caught up. Arshel?
Yeah, I think I'm a few steps behind. I'm getting the same message that Alba was getting about the alternate name or properly configured.
Are you able to hit check again and get something different?
I hit check again and I didn't. I think I might have missed a step trying to do other stuff related to this of trying to set up two-step verification, which didn't work on my phone, blah, blah. So I think I'm a little behind.
Do you want to share your screen?
Sure, I'll share it.
Yeah, click check again. And then do you have, yeah, go ahead and click it.
I did. Okay, here we go.
It's not eligible for HTTPS at this time. So go to Namecheap. Do you have another tab, Namecheap open? And then go up to the top right, click account, and then dashboard. Yep. Then get down to your Yep, and just keep scrolling down. View all domains. Think. Well, how did you get to the manage again?
If you press you see where it says verify contacts, that little arrow
Is it
right
that?
next to it? Yeah, that
Yeah.
one. So just press on that and then manage comes
Perfect.
up and just press that.
Yep, and then advanced DNS tab. Okay, cool. Yeah, so delete these two, trash these two records.
You have to select them first.
No, just hit the trash can. That should also do it. Delete. Yep. Same thing for the other one. Delete. And then add new record. Pick the alias record, so the last one in the box. Yep. And then host, type in the @ symbol. And then for target, type out the github.io address. So your GitHub username.
The first one I created.
Yes. .github.io. Yep.
Oh, okay.
And then click the green arrow, green check mark. Yep. Perfect. You're all set. If you go flip back to GitHub, that pages box So run that check again and let's see. Yeah, this looks like it's going to get a little bit further. Let's give this a couple minutes before we run check again.
Okay.
Or you can keep hitting check again. It's entirely up to you.
Well, one quick question. How do I set up the two-step verification? I don't think I did that correctly.
Go to account.
Okay.
And then profile down here at the bottom. And then once you are on your profile, click on, scroll down. Click on security here.
Oh.
And then you can set up two-factor right here.
Okay.
Which one do I use?
Which form of two-factor?
Yeah, because when I opened it up, it gives me two choices.
I'm assuming most people are going to use a virtual device. If you have something like a YubiKey, then that's definitely more convenient. But I'm assuming most people will probably use like Google Authenticator.
So I should use the second.
Yes. Try the authentication app. Has anybody here not used a two-factor app before?
Well, getting into my email or something, but not having them.
Not an actual app, though. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah, I was going to cut it off anyway. All right.
Yes, please. Yeah, we should talk about that. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. For the folks that haven't used a two-factor app before. I think actually, though, this is a pretty good place to stop because we need to give DNS some time to propagate. And when we come back to class tomorrow, we can pick up where we left off and finish wiring up our domains. So if you haven't bought a domain, you're not falling behind. All of the stuff that we've done in class tonight has been in the slides. So if you still need time to think about a good domain, by all means, take that time. And then be thinking about what you might want to buy for a capstone domain, because if I can help you tomorrow also set up your capstone domain, that would be great. But if you don't want to do it tomorrow, you also have all the time and the slides to set that up on your own as well. And then one last thing. I know earlier I went pretty fast through a lot of stuff, specifically GitHub pages and setting up project pages, and kind of got on a tangent there. Same thing with the DNS. We definitely did an overview and a deep dive in some sections. It's just for your education. I'm hoping that a lot of software development in my experience is being exposed to those concepts and knowing a bit of the terminology around it, so that when you do need to do research into something, you kind of know what some of the key words are for. So if some of the things that I went through tonight you didn't totally grok, you're not falling behind. You're definitely not lost. And I will personally make sure that everybody walks away this week with a working websites for the rest of their class. That's what really matters. If you don't get anything else out of this week, it's making sure that you have something that you can show other people. That's what I want to make sure you have. Other questions or thoughts before we break for the night?
And Jordan has his hand up.
Jordan?
I just wanted you to take a look at mine and just mine. I'm still getting that domain name is not eligible for HTTPS.
Did you set up the DNS record over on Namecheap?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so that's good. If I think maybe we got the GitHub side set up before we got the Namecheap side set up. So there's kind of some lag between the two. Okay. Let's just pick it up. Let's pick it up tomorrow. Okay. There's no big rush.
Cool.
And my hope is that some of these things will just sort themselves out, which is what I'm anticipating a lot of these domains to do overnight. Anybody else got questions or thoughts, Exona?
Yes, can you show me again how I'm supposed to download that page that's supposed to be continuing to download? I accidentally press exit.
That page that's continuing to download. Oh, yes, yeah. I got you. So to get to that page,
I don't know why.
So come to anywhere on GitHub.
So it's on GitHub.
Yep, go to anywhere on GitHub and then click on your profile, get to your repositories, somehow get to your portfolio repository.
And then settings.
Settings, yep, exactly. And then on the side, there's the pages.
Gotcha, okay. I just needed to know where exactly I'm looking, but yeah, I got it now.
Yep.
So it's just saying the same thing, improper configuration, configured.
Yeah. I think we'll see most of those get resolved overnight. If they don't, we will figure it out tomorrow.
Okay, so should I just keep my laptop open until it does?
No.
Or is that...
This will resolve itself in the background overnight. You don't need to keep the web page or the website open.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yep.
That sounds good.
Kalai?
It says I'm trying to do the two-factor authentication. It says verify your identity with, and then it gives me lots of options to do. So which one to go for? Like, do I need to choose each individual for my phone and stuff? I wasn't sure what else it wanted me to do.
Well, is it showing anything personal right now on screen?
No.
Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, sure.
My guess is that it's asking you to choose which app that you want to use to set up two-factor with. So hit cancel. You're on the hardware key. Yep, hit cancel there. And then switch to the authentication app. Yep.
Okay.
And then, yep. First try, very nice, cool. All right. Are you familiar with two-factor?
I do for my school.
Okay. So actually, now that this is in the recording, you probably don't want to use this for your. Sorry, by sharing it, yeah.
Can she regenerate those backup codes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I recommend doing that. That saved me a couple times, just having them just in case.
Yeah, totally. That's a great idea. I will say that tomorrow I'll make a note to talk about two-factor, but I'm going to give you my best sales pitch on using 1Password because managing passwords is a thing of the past. Anybody else got thoughts, questions, opinions, feedback, things they want to say before we break?
So Nathan, we back up both of them.
Back up. What do you mean?
I'm sorry. Backup codes.
If you're gonna add two-factor to your Namecheap account, which I recommend, make sure that you save those backup codes somewhere.
Okay. Okay.
They are in the case. Go ahead.
The two-step factor app, do you recommend that one?
I recommend Google Authenticator. It's kind of the easiest one to get started with. It's a really good two-factor, but I also think that 1Password is fantastic because it not only handles your passwords, but it also will manage your two-factor codes too. So for example, I'll just do this really quick and then I'll let you guys go. But let me share my screen, show you how cool two-factor is, or sorry, how cool 1Password is. So let me go to Namecheap. And people that have been, people might have already seen this, but let me go and log out. Okay, so I'm gonna log into Namecheap. And I'm done. So Namecheap, or sorry, 1Password just filled out everything for me, including the one-time password code. I have no idea what my Namecheap password is. But 1Password is really cool, and I strongly recommend it to people to manage their passwords.
Is that an
But
app?
it is. It's an app. It installs on your phone and installs on your Mac. It's also really nice because like I have kids, so 1Password lets me create just secure notes too. So like for my kids, I like keep birth dates, social security numbers, that sort of stuff in there, sensitive things. It's kind of just a really nice place to keep all of your secret things, including backup codes, Wi-Fi router passwords, all that. But definitely take a look, and if folks are interested, I'd love to give you a sales pitch tomorrow.
What's it called?
It's called 1Password. I even have my parents using it. I mean, they will share passwords and logins with me, and I share passwords and logins with them. And trust me, if my parents can figure it out, everyone in here can definitely figure it out. All right. Anything else? Cool. Thank you all so much for coming tonight and for setting up your domain with me. Tomorrow is going to be an easy day. We're going to go through some terminal stuff. We're going to make sure everybody walks away with a working website, but tomorrow is going to be kind of relaxed and this kind of back and forth, not so heavy on the slides. All right. Thank you all again. Have a great evening.
Nice.